This is Dr. Wilson.
I wanted to talk a little bit about lecturing with video. Every professor who lectures, they have to deal with repetition. You go in and you teach a class and it gets a little bit better. You do some things to it, you fix it up, and then you teach it again. Okay, so when you teach it again, what are you doing differently? Well, you're maybe adjusting a little of your pedagogy, trying to show this point better or that point, reorganizing, getting it organized. And so a lot of what we do as professors is defined by repetition. Lecturing is done through iterations. That's one of the things that separates a lecture from a speech. We lecture on the same or similar subjects over and over. After you lecture over and over again, a large part of what you do begins to stabilize. You'll say, this works, that works. And so when you go in to do the class for the 8th time, you'll have certain things that you know are pretty good and that they work. It's almost like a baseball pitcher. So, you know the curveball or the fastball. You have tools that you like to reach to. If certain things are successful in replication, can video provide that replication for you? The thing that well-produced video can offer is replication of stable and successful parts of your lecture canon. Whatever you do that works well-produced video should be able to recreate it if it's done right.
What is interactive documentary?
Interactive documentary is where you've taught something successfully several times and you have very strong input material. Your slides are very well scripted. You're able to write on them on the spot. You have short nested video clips that come in, and you have clicker polls and chances for interaction. You have images, you have media, you have video, you have clickers, you have polls, text box, good slide script, all of this packaged together in a large production. So the lecture gets captured with studio equipment, professional audio, possibly cameras. And then what happens is the performance gets well edited after the fact. It moves quickly and is enticing to watch. One of the things you can do in what they call post is you can add post-production, lower thirds, image overlays on top of the clips that are already there. And that's really interesting, what you can do in post. And this requires a hell of a lot of work. But let's put that to the side for a second, because that's not my point. I want to show you something at the end of this video, which I think is important.
Professor, I don't understand. How is the video interactive?
The one thing that does that is the video watcher has to participate in the presentation, and they click and answer text boxes as the thing plays along.
The deficit now is down to $185 billion. I want to ask a question. What caused the deficit to go down? All right, now the answer is Reagan has to pass an emergency tax increase.
So you're going to have this situation where the lecture is going on, it's going to stop, there's going to be a text box, and then you can answer the question and so forth.
Learning management, customized.
The next thing you have to do is get a learning management system where you can show this on the web, and the viewing of the video is monitored by log files that you, the professor, can control. This isn't anywhere on the market. I have my own site, and I coded this all myself. I code in PHP. I like web coding. And so I have this setup where I can watch these students go in and monitor whether they're doing it on time and whether they're skipping out, whether they're watching all the segments. When they're home, there's all kind of challenges. They just put the thing on and go away or something like that. And some of you may say, oh, well, we'll just catch them when they're on the exam, if they don't know the material. But that's not really helpful. If they know that they're being monitored and they know that they have the class participation grade based on whether they skip out, well, they're not going to skip out. The other thing is, I don't know who you're teaching. If you're teaching up at the top, and maybe you don't need this. But if you're teaching regular people, students, students are students. So you kind of need it. I think anyone, frankly, would benefit from it. So you want to make sure they watch timely, they watch all the parts, the video delivery is in small pieces, they answer polls and text box. Also, small regular dosing works best rather than binging. You don't want them binge watching. Like if they wait till before the test and they're going to try to watch all your video lectures, that's not a good thing. So you got to police that. You got to put structure into it. So let's say you do all that. You have really well edited video material. What can you do with this? Well, one of the things you can do is expand your capacity. You now have the ability to to reach more people, more audiences with the same success that you had using iteration as your modus. In other words, you'd go into a classroom and you do iteration. Oh, I'm teaching the presidency again. What are we teaching this time? Oh, we're going to go over the Kennedy assassination. Is there new material on that? Oh, there might be a little bit, but there's still a lot of stability to it, right? And so you teach about the Kennedy assassination. All right, so rather than having your modus be, oh, I'm going to go do this again, I'm going to go do this again, it's technically already done. And it's in a state that works, an educational state that works. Again, we're not saying that you don't ever give a live lecture again. That's not the point. That's definitely not the point. But we are saying that you have the capacity to reach people who maybe aren't even taking your class, or maybe someone at another university, or maybe someone who's sick, or maybe there's a pandemic. All of a sudden, huge possibilities are open now because your capacity is expanded. Also, instead of having versions of classes within any one class, a student could choose which version. You know, like I have versions of classes. When I teach the presidency, I either put in this stuff or I put in some other stuff because I don't want to just teach the same stuff anyway. I mean, look, when Trump became president, we had to start teaching different things, right? Different issues came up. Okay, and so that doesn't mean the old stuff is gone. You know, when the time that right now Biden is president, some of that old stuff might come back in again. You know, I don't think we could be talking about the emoluments clause. So, I mean, you're going to have versions of classes. You know, when we were doing after 9/11, everyone wanted to do detainee cases and stuff like that. Well, that kind of went away a little bit, and now something else came up. So you've got versions of classes. If you had stuff on video, you could have all of your versions in any one class. A student could say, you know, I really want to learn this battery of information instead of this other battery. That is a possibility. The same student in your class could be getting a different module where somebody else gets some other module. Now, this also raises the possibility of creating a hub course. Now, what's a hub course? Follow me on this. It's a good idea. Hold on, follow me on this. You know, each semester, one of the courses that you teach should be a blanket title course. Here's the way it would work. We all have classes that are special topics classes, or we have classes that are variable content. But when a student takes those classes, they only get credit on their transcript for the selected topic class. But here's what I'm talking about. If you're teaching, let's say you're teaching, I teach at a university where it's 3-2. All right, so 2 of your classes are your regular classes. Your other 2 would also be whatever, in the other semester. But for that third course in one of the semesters, why not have it be a hub course where all of your classes, every single one of your classes that you have in video perfected format, all of your online courses, it could in one day, it could in theory be your entire catalog. A student could enroll for that and pick which course they wanted to take. In other words, the student's getting ready to graduate and say, you know, I never had Wilson's Supreme Court class. It's not being offered. Well, you can enroll in the hub class and take it. And some other student might be enrolled in that hub taking the presidency, and some other student might be enrolled taking law and the legal system. Whatever you're not teaching in the perfect on load is in the hub, so that theoretically your whole repertoire is always offered. You always have your whole repertoire offered to any student. Now, you'd have to cap the enrollments, but that's easy. You know, your hub, you could carry I call it a hub class. It's a suitcase class. Now, the difficulty would be in transcription. If a student took that, registered for that hub, and, you know, what are they going to get credit for in the transcript? There'd have to be a transcription policy where they could get credit for whatever they took. They took the presidency, they took, you know, Supreme Court, whatever they went all the way through. And how, you know, you'd have this online system set up. They're watching the video content and it's working out for them. So you would cap the enrollment so that it matches a regular class, but instead of a class, you're offering your entire catalog. Each student could then select a course to take, but you would need a transcription policy. I actually have a site, which I'll link to at the bottom. And I'll put it at the bottom of the video. And check it out because it's a prototype. I have an online site that right now has potentially. It has 6 courses in it. But some of the courses, some of the video files aren't so good. They're raw files. So I got to deal with that. But I have at least 3 pretty good classes right now that have pretty good videos that are cut. And I'm teaching, for example, Supreme Court this semester. And so that's going to get cut as well. So that's going to be 4 classes I have that have video content that potentially could always be offered all the time to anyone. And by the way, Why limit it to your own university? Think about this. Professor X teaches a class that students from another university can take as well. Suppose you had reciprocal agreement, some kind of consortium agreement among universities, where, let's say, they're all in a similar region. And let's say, some university, for whatever reason, they need a presidency class taught one semester. Maybe someone's on sabbatical. And so they got to think about, hiring an adjunct. That's fine. Or one of the things they can do is call up the neighboring university and say, oh, well, they've got one online. And the students can take that one. Why can't that happen? Why can't that happen? I mean, if the enrollment's capped, this professor's not going to get stressed. Most of the enrollments, sometimes, depending on what university you're at, enrollments are a little bit down. So as long as the total student load is capped, why couldn't that happen? Also, let's do it this way. Suppose I want a student to be exposed to Professor X's theories at another university, taking her module and getting credit for it. Well-edited video makes this possible. Maybe there could be regional cooperation among universities or field department coordination, exposing students to professors with different takes on something. So anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about. All right. Thanks for listening.